Thank you for joining me for this edition of Week in Review. I want to talk to you today about 3 indicators of insanity in America today. Now, if you remember, in 1776, Edward Gibbon began the first of a number of volumes on the fall of Rome. And one of the classic lines in his book was this, that during that time, as they really turned away and went down a secular and a very bizarre path, he said, during that time in the culture, bizarreness masqueraded as what? Creativity. That describes America today. Now I want to share some of the indicators of insanity and also how God wants to use this situation for His glory. Stay with me. I don't know if you've ever been in Las Vegas, but if you went there a few years ago, there was a thrill ride, a roller coaster. You know what the name of it was? Insanity. And that was a perfect label. Can you imagine a roller coaster that was 900 feet tall? 900, that's like 3 football fields, going 40 miles an hour, whipping around. People are turned upside down. And they really got themselves in trouble, and they had to shut it down, and we don't even know if it's going to come back. But that word insanity describes what we're seeing in the systematic breakdown of this culture today. And it's serious, but God wants us to know what we're supposed to do. I watched the other night a debate between Florida Governor DeSantis and California Governor Gavin Newsom. I don't know how else to describe it, but stamp it insanity as I listened to Mr. Newsom. The facts were presented about education and crime and spending and taxes. And Mr. DeSantis, honestly, he just laid out the policies that brought such success in his state. But it was insanity to listen to Mr. Newsom. He avoided, he talked nonsense, and was like, what is he saying? It was insanity. You know, there's a boy, 9-year-old, maybe you heard about this. He's a Native American, and he loves the Kansas City Chiefs. So he went to the game recently, and he painted his face kind of half black, half red. Well, oh man, when the progressives and the left saw that, this boy is racist, this is racism. Well, the same people that are branding him a racist are the ones that will applaud a guy that, puts on a wig or whatever and all of a sudden says, well, I'm a woman and I'm going to be in women's sports. Oh, that's courageous. That's insanity. Now, I want to tell you, God's waking people up today, and we can be a part of it. The movie Sound of Freedom, Jim Caviezel exposing sex trafficking. Do you know it just hit a milestone? $100 million in revenue. There's another movie coming out, get ready for it, by Ben Shapiro and Daily Wire, and it's called Lady Ballers. And what they're doing is using humor and parody, and what they're doing is exposing a guy that was a failure as a coach, and these basketball players, and hey, put on wigs, let's go out and beat the women, and it's a hilarious parody. But you know what? A message can come through. And we need to know what's going on. Now, I want to cite what are 3 areas where I believe there's insanity today. Well, one area is in the area of income. I'll make it simple with income. We have a man in the White House that travels around and talks about Bidenomics and the success and, all the wonderful federal debt reduction. Well, folks, since this man's been in office, $6 trillion has been added to the federal debt. And all of this stuff about the society today that, we're making great progress with our economy and income. Do you know that right now, since this man came into office, how much are you paying more for groceries? 21% more for groceries. How about gas prices? 51% more. In other words, we're living in a time where we're seeing prices skyrocketing and go through the roof. And you can feel it when you go and you buy things. Get on a flight today and you're going to be, 27% more? Do you know the average household needs how much more? I'll give you the facts. $11,000, you need more, $434 today than from when Mr. Trump left office. You can feel the pinch, but the income levels, there's insanity, and yet it's being broadcast like, well, the economy is humming. We need to wake up. Number 2 is we can see, I think, insanity with regards to immigration. Now, this is a national catastrophe. We hear from the White House and from spokesmen and the man that oversees it. Oh, the border's closed, the border is sound, and this is a national security disaster. We will have, by the end of this administration, they believe, close to 14 million illegal immigrants that have come in. This has never happened in history, folks. Please, did you hear me? It's never happened where there's no borders. And as a result, the cartels, they're controlling the drugs and bringing it in. 100,000 a year are dying from fentanyl. They have free reign there. And then what else do you have? Sex trafficking. We have smugglers, individuals that are on the terror watch list. They're slipping in over 100 countries. And if you don't think they're moving into sleeper cells, this is a national catastrophe. And we're hearing, oh, everything's fine, the border's closed. It's not fine. You know, my daughter right now is in New York. And there's a monument there, a wonderful hotel, the Roosevelt, right there in Manhattan. You go there now, you know what you'll find? You'll find that it was cleared out. And you know who's in there now? It's all the illegal immigrants, the migrants. We got to spend, and the people there with tax money, about $9,600 a month per family so they can be put up there in that place. You say, well, what does the mayor say about this? Well, he says our city, Eric Adams says it's going to be destroyed. We cannot allow this. So income insanity, and then immigration insanity. And I'll give you one more. How about this? Thirdly is Israel. How can we have universities and protests and demonstrations and media after what we saw in October on the 7th, the savagery, the brutality, the beheading of babies, and Hamas, a terrorist group committed to destroy Israel? How can we have institutions and individuals and protests saying, well, we stand with Hamas and, we stand with the pro-Palestinians? Folks, the Palestinians in Gaza, do you know 150,000 people a day travel from Gaza into Israel? Israel has supplied free electricity and water, but in 2006, the people allowed Hamas to take over, and this is a terrorist group. It's either kill or be killed, and so the United States right now needs to take the stand, and we need to take the stand of supporting Israel, praying for the peace of Jerusalem. I want you to watch. I recently heard a little clip, and this is a man who's over 100 years old. He went through the actual Holocaust, where over 6 million Jews were slaughtered and exterminated, and he shares this as he goes to schools. Listen to Alexander as he shares his story.
If we don't speak about the Holocaust, then people will forget what happened. I've talked to hundreds of high school students. 70% of them never heard about the Holocaust. 6 million Jews were murdered. They weren't murdered because they were criminals or did anything wrong, just because they were Jews. And now we still have a lot of anti-Semitism going on and Holocaust deniers. The most important thing is true education. To let them know what happened and to get them educated, because the young people, they are our future. Some of the students asked me, did you ever thought of giving up? I said, no, I never thought of giving up. I never lost faith. I never stopped believing in God. And I used to say to myself, I may have a bad day today, but I hope tomorrow will be a better day. But never give up.
What did he say? 70% in schools don't even know what the Holocaust is. We've got to educate people. We have to help them understand and break this narrative of, well, Israel is the oppressor, and then we have all these oppressed people, and Israel's got to be wiped out. This is demonic, it's anti-Semitism, and we're called to stand with the people whose ancestral homeland is Israel for thousands of years. And we need to stand up for those. And when people say, well, why is there such hatred of Israel and the Jews? Well, maybe it's because they've made such success in Tel Aviv and in Israel. Maybe it's because, in the Bible, there's somebody called Ishmael, and we see there's some DNA and evil roots that have taken place. These are areas of insanity today, and it's time for us to take a clear stand. Now, I want to tell you this. We are facing and we've faced it twice before in America's history, 3 existential threats. That means threats to our existence. The first was when? It was during the Revolutionary War. We had to fight, pray, and engage. We almost didn't make it. We went up against the most powerful army in all the world. And what did we do? We won. Then we have the Civil War. And in the Civil War, almost 700,000 died, and the nation was divided, and it was a threat to our existence as the United States. But we prayed, and we had to engage, and we won. Today, we are engaged in another war, and it's a cultural war. We are the majority, folks. Conservative, traditional people in this country, patriotic people. But you've got to face the reality that progressive, extremists, Marxists, they have taken the levers of control in our universities, in Silicon Valley, in the corporate boardrooms. You see it in school boards, you see it in education, teachers' unions. And so it's time for us to declare the truth. And we have to be able to respond and not succumb. You know, I recently wrote an article on Disney. Do you know, a couple years ago, if you had stock in Disney, you would be rejoicing. You'd say, yeah, $200, you know, it was worth. You know what it's worth today? It's around $80. They've had 8 movies, one after another. They flopped. You say, well, what happened? Well, there was infiltration and indoctrination through wokeism. And so the attempt to take characters and storylines and inject into them and embed in there a philosophy and standards that are contrary to God and His Word. You know, hey, Black Lives Matter, and we've got all of this LGBTQ and transgenderism. People have said, no, we're going to push back against it. They are telling the truth. I went the other day in our neighborhood. A couple just moved in with their 2 children. I went over there like I always do. I welcomed them. They told me, we're here from California. Well, I spent about a half hour with them, and they said, we see what's going on in our state, and we've come here. Well, Tennessee and other places are endeavoring to do what's right, and I want to encourage you as an individual. Pray for this nation. Stay informed. If you're a pastor, somebody told me, well, our pastor never talks about social or political issues. No, you got to reject that kind of idea. But you engage with people. You talk to them in a civil way. Bring the truth. Pray for our country, and then take action. Let's believe God. Isaiah 60 does tell us, and it says that arise, shine, thy light is come. Darkness will cover the earth, yes, deep darkness. But you know what? It goes on to say, rise, shine, my light has come. And this is a day in which if we will talk, pray, engage, stay informed, we can see, I believe, a turnaround. The darkest hour in history always seems to precede the greatest revival. Let's be a part of it. And during this Christmas time, let's tell people where peace is, where hope is, and it's in a relationship with Jesus Christ. Insanity, let's vaporize it and let's obliterate it by believing God for an awakening in our day.
Hey friends, if you felt this video was helpful, make sure you like and subscribe so you get notified once new videos become available. Thanks.